Hey everyone, welcome back to the Whispers Secrets channel. Today's story comes from Reddit, but before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up if you enjoy the story, and leave a comment down below. Those simple actions help more than you know. I went through the house. Empty. Nothing left behind. Bag packed. I told my wife I'd leave the company car at the airport. Truth was, it never left the office. I walked away at 45. Took a smaller pension, but the stock payouts filled the gap. No taxes, bigger deposits. I moved the funds slowly. Last Friday, I liquidated everything. Final check. Vacation time cashed out. $850,000 in equity. Waited until today to deposit. Sole account. Not community property. Donated the suits, kept one. The rest? Sold or tossed. Moved where dollars stretch further. Rented a U-Haul using my uncle's ID. Paid with cash. Left the West Coast. Quit the job. Walked out on my wife. I needed breathing room. She always loathed the farm, that made things easier. I married into snobbery. Should have seen it sooner. Now I did. The farm stayed in my name. My rentals gave me financial padding. I'd repair tractors instead of running manufacturing plants. The house, old, worn, but still standing. I gave Kendra a heads up. Told her I'd be gone by the time she got back. She replied, cheerful. Can't wait to be home. The party was planned. Kids, in-laws, everyone arriving early. Kendra's boss and his wife were invited too. She told me they'd be there. So did my daughter. They didn't know the full truth. Believed it was a belated birthday bash. Kendra said she'd missed the real one due to work. I knew better. I left them a video. Told them to play it at the end, use the patio screen. I texted David, my son-in-law, with my new number and email. We used to work together. He had suspicions. The affair? He wasn't certain until I showed him the file. Wipe everything, he warned. Kill Facebook. Already done. The moment Kendra's plane left the tarmac, he said. Let her wonder. She's earned that much. She'd get half regardless. I'd still be ahead. Sent all figures to my attorney. I could buy a new house and still have room to breathe. I threw my phone in the kitchen trash. No one would notice till the party wrapped up. Leaving California? Easier than I thought. Heading back to South Dakota? That felt right. There'd be less than a dozen people who'd even care I was gone. I smiled, picked up a burner phone, new number, made one call. This is the new line. I'm on the road. Got it, she said. I shut it off to conserve battery. It would be a long drive east. Mid-March. Roads empty. Cold air clearing the last of winter. Spring was near. You could feel it in the dirt. Kendra and I met at an Aerosmith concert. She was born and raised in California. I was from out of state. We got married a year later, same day, same time. My folks flew in. I worked in R&D. She was into imports and brand work. We kept it going for years. Even now, Kendra could still turn heads. Same body, same style, same confidence. I didn't fare as well, standard gut, gray streaks, the usual signs. Kendra had been counting down the days to come home. 2 weeks away with her boss/lover, Eric Hopper. She pitted Colin, her actual husband, for missing the event. But that's life, right? People get busy. Travel happens. Eric was an escape. A thrill. A change of rhythm. But she preferred structure. Predictability. Safe, reliable sex twice a week. Her plane landed. She drove home, still reminiscing about the trip. The shock came fast. The house was full, packed. Kids, sons-in-law, friends, even coworkers. And then she saw Eric. And his wife. What are they doing here? She asked, blinking. Her eldest daughter beamed. I invited them. He talks about you all the time. His wife wanted to finally meet you. Kendra glowed. She felt admired. Seen. Special. At 8 p.m., the twins stood up. Mom, they said, smiling. Dad didn't want to miss your party. He made you something. They turned on the big patio TV. Press play. The crowd went silent. My face appeared on screen. Happy birthday, sweetheart, I said with a faint grin. A few chuckles spread across the room. Kendra lit up, proud, seated right up front. I couldn't be there tonight, I said. But I didn't want to miss it completely. Big year for us. Our first grandson, loud little guy, definitely has your eyes. Our youngest finally got married. And hey, we made it to another anniversary. We had even begun tossing around ideas for a second honeymoon, one last romantic getaway, like the early days. I leaned into the camera, eyes steady. I really believed we were finding our way back, before life got tangled and heavy. Before we became two strangers acting out a marriage. A few people in the audience shifted awkwardly. But then my tone dropped, low and sharp. When I got back from that overseas assignment, I said, I reviewed the security cams like I always do. The video jumped. No warning. No easing into it. Footage from the patio flashed on screen. Kendra and our daughters. Wine glasses in hand. Laughing like carefree teenagers. Except the conversation wasn't about casseroles or yoga classes. The entire party went mute. All you could hear was the sound from the video, their voices. They were boasting. Naming names. Laughing at how gullible their husbands were. Talking about rendezvous in hotel rooms, how easy it was to slip away unnoticed, the lies they'd spun and gotten away with. Kendra was in charge. The ringmaster. She even joked about finding her next man. Like browsing the clearance rack. The men in the audience looked shell-shocked. One of the sons-in-law dropped his head into his hands. Then the video shifted again. It was footage of Kendra and her boss, Eric Hopper, in Vancouver. Nude beach strolls. One hotel room. One bed. Candlelit dinners. Horse-drawn rides through the park like it was a honeymoon. A private charter around the cove. Someone gasped. A few wives avoided their husbands' eyes. The clip ended. I reappeared. Leaning close to the lens. Kendra, I said slowly. Was this what you gave yourself for your birthday? A sweet little escape with Eric? I don't claim to know what went down every single night. But I do know that room only had one bed. I turned slightly in the frame. And to my sons-in-law watching this, I said, you might want to have a heart-to-heart with your wives tonight. I wish someone had warned me. The entire patio seemed to exhale all at once, and stay breathless. I stared into the camera. Flat. Cold. Kendra, if you were so unhappy, you could have just said so. You could have asked for a divorce. But you chose this. Over and over. So tell me, does Eric pay for that overtime? Or is that just one of the perks? I gave a small shrug. Just wondering. Then the screen faded to black. No one moved. No one said a word. Later, I heard the tears started right after. Kendra. Our daughters. Whether it was shame or just shock, I wasn't sure. I doubted it was for me. The real showstopper? Karen, Eric Hopper's wife, stepped forward and handed both cheaters their divorce paperwork. She enjoyed it. Even slapped Kendra and called her a few choice names, according to one source. So now, Eric and Kendra were both out in the cold. No more lovers. No more lies. Facing the music with 50 witnesses. I wondered if it hit them, what they'd done. What they'd lost. Whether they even saw the ripple effects. Eric didn't move. Like a deer in headlights. He thought he was safe. Thought Karen had no clue. He figured wrong. Karen was my attorney. In one night, Kendra hadn't just blown up our marriage. She helped ignite the end of 5 others. Each of my sons-in-law pulled their wives aside and told them not to come home. Not unless they were ready to be honest. Apparently, even in California, some boundaries still mean something. Hard lesson. But it stuck. That night, I kept driving until the exhaustion hit. I pulled into a cheap roadside motel, parking in view of the front desk. Checked in, grabbed my one suitcase and burner phone, and went straight to the room. Took a long shower. Let the heat clear my head. Afterward, I lay on the bed, charging the phone. Curiosity 1. There was one message. Just 5 words, home from party. Call me. I dialed. Karen picked up on the first ring. Hey, sweetheart, I said. How'd it go? Better than we imagined, she said with a laugh. About 50 people showed. Everyone was having the time of their lives, for a while. Kendra was glowing. Playing the perfect hostess. Queen of the evening. Then your daughters cued the video. She laughed again, darker this time. They never saw it coming. And thanks to you, she added, I picked up 3 new divorce clients before dessert was served. She took a breath. Right after the video ended, it dawned on them, they'd forgotten the security cameras were still running. The highlight? All 4 of them muttered. Crap, we're screwed, in flawless unison. Everyone heard it. Karen couldn't stop laughing, saying my daughter's expression alone was worth the entire setup. Then came the footage of our spouses during their romantic little escape. It was undeniable. When I handed over the divorce papers, people scattered like someone had pulled a fire alarm. Karen told me the sons-in-law approached her, curious if she really was a divorce lawyer. She confirmed it, and had 3 retainer checks in hand before the end of the night. Seemed like my daughters weren't the only ones keeping secrets. She said she left Eric behind and drove his car home, sounding entirely satisfied. I asked if anyone tried to contact me. Karen explained that after most guests left, Kendra had found my phone buzzing in the trash. That hit her harder than anything I could have said. That silence was louder than any confrontation. She said Eric just stood there, stunned, convinced he had covered his tracks. Poor guy, never saw it coming. I smiled. 6 months left on the clock. No regrets checking those old surveillance feeds. If I hadn't, I never would have crossed paths with Karen. She asked if I still wanted to go through with liquidating everything. Unless she buys me out, I told her. With the exodus from California, the timing might actually work out better than planned. Either way, Kendra would spiral tomorrow when she realized I had walked away from the firm. Karen let out a sigh and said she was listing her practice the next morning. She'd already told her sister and brother-in-law I was headed their way. He was apparently eager to meet me, still remembered how I'd helped him close a tractor dealership deal years ago. She paused. This is only the beginning, she said. Let's see if they're still smiling when it's over. I didn't say much. Just ended the call. Meanwhile, Kendra stood still, holding my phone, wanting to say Eric meant nothing, that the girls were mine, not his. But reality had settled in. I didn't care anymore. This was how I showed her. The world would see it for what it was. I was done. She finally understood her choices had led to this. The excitement, the secrets, the ego trip, none of it was worth the crater it left behind. There was no walking this back. Our town might have been small, and people might forgive eventually, but they never forget. The rumors would stick to her like mud. My silence had been louder than any scream. My absence, more final than divorce papers. Maybe she thought I'd forgive her one more time like all the others, but this time had a different weight. Kendra never planned for any of this to unravel. It started small, as most things do. She blamed the culture, the pressure, everything except herself. Told herself no one was getting hurt. But after slipping once, she didn't stop. Eric was just the latest. Busy lives made us distant, but it was her own carelessness that finally exposed the truth. And now, even her daughters were caught in the fallout. Funny thing is, Karen and I grew up not far from each other, less than 20 miles, but somehow never met. I had already graduated by the time she hit high school. When I scheduled my first consult, I only wanted legal advice on divorce. By coincidence, she ended up with my case. When I showed her the video footage, she froze. The man in the clip looked painfully familiar. We checked. Her Facebook confirmed it. It was Eric. That was the moment both our marriages were officially over. We spent hours talking about ethics, betrayal, what came next. What started as a professional relationship became something more grounded. Not romance, not yet. It was healing. Just two people navigating wreckage, helping each other find balance. Eventually, it grew into a quiet bond. We swapped stories about growing up near the same dusty roads, laughing at the places we both visited, and realized how much we had in common. Last week, we acknowledged the shift. It wasn't just comfort anymore. We agreed to keep it simple, just companionship, until the dust from our divorces settled. 12 days ago, after I walked out on Kendra, Karen rang me. She had just broken the news to her daughters about Eric. They didn't believe her. I asked, "Is your oldest still there?" She said yes. "Put her on," I said. When her daughter picked up, I told her straight. "Your mother is my lawyer. I didn't know who she was when I hired her. But when she saw the footage, we both realized we were living the same nightmare. I've got proof. Please take a look before you judge her." About 30 minutes later, Karen's daughters showed up at my place. I walked them through how the security system in the house operated. The exterior cameras could be shut off before entering, but the interior ones kept recording unless deliberately disabled. I needed them to understand that before watching what came next. I played the footage. They sat in silence as the voices of Kendra and my daughters echoed from the screen, speaking freely, carelessly. Then came the moment that changed everything, their own father's private conversation with my wife. That part cut deepest. "This is what your mother saw," I told them. "She couldn't tell you, ethics. But this is what she had to carry." I explained that, as we spoke, their dad and my wife were off on their little charade of a vacation, and that I had people gathering more proof. When Kendra got home, she'd be met with legal papers. We spoke honestly about commitment, loyalty, and how forgiveness might come easy, but trust? That takes rebuilding brick by brick. I admitted one of my worst fears, that my own daughters were mimicking what they'd seen from their mother for years. Kendra herself had confessed it wasn't a recent thing. This had been her pattern for longer than I cared to guess. Her daughters started to grasp that this wasn't just a case of broken vows. It had fractured the very foundation of what our family once was. Meadow, the younger one, said it best. "If they really respected you, none of this would have happened." Later, I called Karen to let her know how it all played out. She told me both her girls had opened up for the first time in ages. Amber, the older one, said I reminded her of her grandfather, plain-spoken, but the kind of man whose lessons stick. Karen and I both admitted we were craving something simpler. A life where things made sense. Where the noise and deception didn't crowd out the real things. The next morning, I got back on the road. My plan was to hit northern Utah by evening. I didn't rush. Took detours. Saw things I'd always driven past without stopping. And strangely, I felt peaceful. That night, after checking into a roadside inn, I found an email from David, my eldest son-in-law, with a number and a note to call. I did. "Hey, David." "Hey, Dad," he said, relieved. "Glad you called. Where are you?" "Out on the highway, licking my wounds," I replied, dry as ever. He laughed. "Good to hear your voice. It's been chaos. Kendra showed up at the office screaming, demanding to know where you were, acting like she just wanted to talk things through. Once she heard you'd retired, she lost it. They rang me. I told her you'd moved. She called me a liar and started going on about your checks, asking where they go. We had to call security to escort her out." I couldn't help but chuckle. "Oh, it gets better," he said. "Carrie called me right after. Kendra was fired. Right after Eric got slapped with your $5 million alienation of affection suit. She had to get a cab home. Now she's scrambling for a lawyer." "And Carrie?" I asked. "She says she wants to come home to see the baby," David replied. "But I told her I'm not doing anything until I get proof he's mine. If she doesn't like it, she can take it to court." I hesitated. "She told me she hasn't cheated since you got married." David snorted. Not what she said in that patio footage. I nodded. Well, at least they've stopped hounding me. Honestly? David said. You inspired me. This road trip of yours, probably the best thing you've done in years. He paused. So, you really going through with the divorce? I am, I said. Starting over. New town, less noise. Got a little consulting offer if I want it. No deadlines, no ties. Just me. You'll be missed, he said. People back here respected you. You didn't sugarcoat things. You just told the truth, even when it hurt. This is my new number, I told him. Keep it private for now. Then I added, and if Kendra ever comes knocking, tell her she's free to crawl back to whichever guy she was keeping as a backup, because that's what I was to her. Her fallback. What I didn't know then was that David recorded our entire conversation and sent it to Kendra and my daughters. Kendra was livid. She thought I had no business advising him. But it backfired. My daughters finally started recognizing the real cost of living like their mother. Their husbands were pulling away. Even they were beginning to drift from her. I called Karen later. She sounded energized. Her office was buzzing, 5 fresh divorce cases, all thanks to Kendra's birthday disaster. Turns out, a couple of Kendra's past escapades resurfaced too. Karen brought up Kendra's firing too. Apparently, Eric was scrambling to fix it behind the scenes, but as she put it, the board had already made up their minds. They'd reached out to her directly. Not only did they want her back, they were offering her a promotion. Meanwhile, Eric would be pushed down the ladder. Turns out he'd been using company funds for his little romantic escapades, and that didn't sit well with anyone upstairs. Karen told her daughters she was moving back to South Dakota. Told them plainly, if they wanted to stay in the city, they'd need to either move in with their dad or start figuring out life on their own. She said she needed something slower, something real. I want peace, she said. Meadow, the younger one, tilted her head and asked, Is this because you love Colin? Karen didn't hesitate. I do, she said quietly. But nothing's happened. Not yet. Meadow just smiled. I hope it makes you feel young again. It already does, Karen answered. And you're old enough to hear this. Make better choices than we did. As I drove east, I couldn't shake the thought that Kendra was in for a brutal wake-up. The fallout from her choices wasn't going to fade quickly. Her story was out there now, too raw, too loud to just disappear. I wondered how long it would take her to truly grasp what she'd thrown away. Just after noon, I rolled into town, bone-tired after 3 long days on the road. My truck was coated in a layer of dust from all the detours I'd taken, every back road between here and California. I found this little diner I used to visit as a kid. It hadn't changed at all. Same peeling booths, same black and white photos on the wall, even the same linoleum that creaked underfoot. Probably the same waitress, too. I slid into a booth, ordered a burger, fries, and the strongest coffee they had. I was halfway through my second cup, staring out the window, when a gravel voice cut through the room behind me. Well, I'll be damned, is that really you? I turned, and sure enough, there was old Colin White swaggering in like he still ran the place. Time had weathered him a bit, but he still had that steel in his bones. Uncle John, I said, rising with a grin and shaking his hand. You're a sight for sore eyes. He chuckled, then eased into the booth across from me. You too, son. Road's been good to you, by the look of it, tired but breathing. I laughed. It's been one hell of a haul. He looked around, almost expecting someone else from our past to appear out of the woodwork. How's Aunt Mary? I asked. Back at the house with the girls, he said. We're dusting things off, getting it back in shape. Place had somewhere, nothing we can't fix. Replaced a few pipes this morning, fridge is running, stoves alive, floors are decent. Not bad considering how long it's Saturday. He leaned back and eyed me. You'll probably want to tear half of it out and go full HGTV. I smiled and shook my head. We'll see. Might leave some of the old soul in it. He smirked. Good man. I waved over the waitress. Get what you want. Lunch is on me. He lit up like a kid in a candy store. Well, hell. I'm gonna enjoy this. As I sipped my coffee, I felt something settle in my chest. A quiet weight. Like I'd finally arrived somewhere that didn't ask me to be anything but myself. Before heading out to the property, I swung by the local grocery store. Prices were laughably low compared to the city. I filled 2 carts and headed for the checkout. That's when I realized the woman behind the register was someone I'd gone to school with. We caught up while she rang everything through, laughing about how neither of us had aged gracefully. When I pulled up to the house, it actually looked better than I'd expected. My aunt and cousins came out, helped me unload, and stayed for coffee. After they left, I took a slow walk through the place. Uncle John wasn't kidding, the house was rough. I gave him a call and asked if he had any contractor recommendations. 2 hours later, he pulled up with a full crew. I took the time to unpack while they walked the place. Once they'd seen everything, the verdict was unanimous: cheaper to build something new than to fix all the issues. Wiring, plumbing, foundation, all of it needed replacing. But the barn? That was solid. New roof, clean coat of paint, strong frame. I decided to convert it into a repair shop, tractors, equipment, whatever the locals needed. That night, I called Karen to give her the update. We agreed on a modest single-story build, nothing fancy, just efficient. Cold cellar, crawl space, double insulation for winters that bite. I promised I'd swing by her brother-in-law's dealership the next day. Next morning, I rang the contractor, and he said he'd bring by some blueprints after his shift. Then I returned the U-Haul and headed to a nearby dealership, found a used Ford pickup with barely any miles, got it insured and tagged before dropping off the rental for good. Stopped by the bank, made a deposit, grabbed a new checkbook, and chuckled at how cheap the gas was. On the way back, I dropped by Karen's brother's place. Turned out we'd gone to school together too. He recognized me right away and didn't miss a beat. Offered me a job on the spot. I filled him in on my side gig fixing equipment on the farm. He grinned, nudged me about Karen, and admitted he never really liked her first husband. I said I didn't get the appeal either. As for the build, the contractor and I agreed on a 4-bedroom layout with a 2-car garage tucked behind the existing house. We planned out everything: new septic, gas heating and stove, backup generator, open concept living area, and a mudroom connecting straight into the garage. The divorce settlement would more than cover the costs. Later, I gave Karen the rundown. She was happy I'd finally met her brother. Not long after, David called me with another update. Kendra's hired a private investigator, he said. She's trying to track you down. Still thinks there's a chance. I shook my head. There's nothing left to fix. She'd just go back to the same games. David sighed. Amazing how the smartest people can't see what's right in front of them. No wonder everything's falling apart these days. She doesn't think she did anything wrong, I said. She thinks I'm just being dramatic, that I should let it go. She's not sorry she did it, she's sorry she got caught. David was quiet for a moment. Carrie's not far off. I'm giving her a little more time, but if nothing shifts, I'll walk. I can't raise a kid in that kind of mess. I suggested trying counseling, but with someone real, not a therapist who'd just nod and collect a check. Maybe it'll open her eyes. Maybe, he said. If not, I'll start over. I threw myself into the barn conversion. Ripping out old stalls was exhausting, but it did something for me. After years pushing paper, having dirt under my nails felt honest. Thursday night, Karen called. The girls think you could use a smile, she said. They'd let her brother know about both divorces, unaware he'd known for months. Meadow told him about how I'd figured out the affair, how we'd crossed paths again, and how I helped him lock in that dealership years back. Apparently, he felt like he owed me. They also told him I'd moved back to restart the family farm. The conversation turned to us. They talked about you for over an hour, she said. They were stunned he supported us. Think they'll keep quiet? I asked. Now? Absolutely, Karen said. After what they pulled, they won't breathe a word. What exactly did they do? If that story shook something in you, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and make sure you're subscribed. More stories like this are coming your way. Until next time, stay sharp, stay honest.